how are pharmaceutical companies adjusting the clinical trials for COVID vaccine testing in young children? Will it still be effective? And also, if you're vaccinated and then you're out somewhere with other people who aren't, are you at risk?
Yeah, Dr. Leo Lee, Infectious Disease Specialist over at Beverly Hospital, joins us once again to answer these questions. Thanks for being here.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Good morning. You know, we've learned that Pfizer is advancing its clinical trial phases now for young kids aged 5 to 12 years old, but at lower doses. So one, can you explain why they would do it at a lower dose? And two, aren't there already concerns that Pfizer's vaccine might be leading to heart inflammation in older children that the CDC is looking into?
Okay, addressing the first one, yeah, actually based on the clinical trials, phase 1, it appears that kids don't require a higher dose. Now, to give everyone just a real quick reminder of how the phases work, in phase 1 trials, they're looking pretty much about how the drugs interact with individuals and how much they can actually tolerate. Those will usually involve less than 100 participants. In phase 2, they use several hundred individuals. And at that point, they start evaluating the efficacy in terms of how well it works, and also will start monitoring for side effects. In phase 3, they've actually expanded that to several thousand individuals. It gives them a better idea in terms of how well the vaccine is working, but also to monitor for side effects. Because with a larger group, there may be things which are fairly rare, which may pop up at that point. Currently, the vaccine for Pfizer for 12 and above, they use a 30 microgram dose, 2 shots. For those from 5 to 11, they are using a lower dose, 10 micrograms. And for the 6 months to the 4 years, they're using 3 micrograms. And so the feeling is the kids are not young adults or not little adults. And that's the first thing I learned as my pediatric rotation, that you use smaller doses. And so kids react differently. So the hope is we find a dose that actually has minimal side effects, but it achieves the same therapeutic goal, basically a high level of neutralizing antibodies. So the feeling is as we perform these trials, hopefully by the end of September, we'll have initial data for the older group. And then by the end of the year, we should have it for the lower group.
Okay, well, Dr. Lee, there's a huge push to get 70% of adults in the U.S. vaccinated by July 4th, but there is still a sizable amount of people. They're hesitant. What would you say to those who question, first of all, the effectiveness of the vaccine, or they point to the fact that a small amount of people have gotten COVID after getting the vaccine? What would you say?
Well, first of all, we've been saying over and over, the vaccine is very, very effective. Preliminary data came out from the CDC back in March, but new data was actually released this week, which gives you additional information. And what the CDC did is they looked at individuals who were partially or fully vaccinated once the vaccine became available. And we're looking primarily at Pfizer, Moderna, which are the only 2 vaccines released early on. And they actually tracked the data from the beginning of the availability of vaccinations back in December, and they tracked it through April. And what they basically did was had individuals, roughly about 4,000 individuals, frontline workers, healthcare workers, essential workers, and they had them do weekly COVID tests. And when they looked at that and compared to those who were not vaccinated, what they determined over the last 6 months, that individuals who were fully vaccinated had a 91% reduction in the risk for infections. For those who were partially vaccinated, it was an 81% reduction. When those individuals who tested positive for the COVID, they actually analyzed it and looked at how much virus they were actually carrying in their nostrils and how much they were shedding. And what they found is individuals who had actually been vaccinated, actually significantly less virus detectable in their nasal secretions and their droppings, about 40%, and they shed the virus for 6 days or less. In terms of how effective they were, people who actually became sick had 6 fewer sick days overall and 2 sick days in bed overall, whether they were partially or fully vaccinated compared to individuals who had not been vaccinated. So the bottom line is, it is very effective. It's not 100%, but it can't prevent you from getting sick. And more importantly, it prevents you from spreading it around the community.
Okay, Dr. Leo Lee, thank you for your time again this morning. We really appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Have a good weekend.
You too, Dr. Lee. Thanks.